Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Haba, and we're continuing in Seif Mishnah Berura. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to begin Siman Kuf Lamed Gimel, Kuf Lamed Dalet, and we'll see if we have time to jump into the Maimer HaKadeshim. Okay, Siman Kuf Lamed Gimel. By the way, my friend Rabbi Moshe Stream asked, well, where is this pasuk that the Ramah says, "Uchsheyoytze mi beis hakneses omer necheni b'tzid kasecha"? Where the Ramah doesn't even quote the whole pasuk. So, sorry about that. I was learning Mishnayos last night, and on my bookmark, it has the pasuk. Hashem necheni b'tzid kasecha l'man shayroi hayishar lefanai darkecha. It's in Tehillim, Parakeh. It's all the way in the beginning of Tehillim. Okay, so the pasuk that the Ramah references, just the beginning of Hashem necheni, the first two words, the pasuk is Hashem necheni b'tzid kasecha l'man shayroi hayishar lefanai darkecha. Why doesn't the Ramah bring the whole pasuk? Because you're supposed to know psukim. That we assume that you know psukim if you're learning Shulchan Aruch. Yeah? Okay. Fine. Siman Kuf Lamed Gimel. Din Barchu b'Shabbos. B'Shabbos v'Yom Tov ein oimrim Barchu acher Kaddish Basra. On Shabbos and Yom Tov, you do not say Barchu after the final Kaddish. That implies that during the week, you either do say it or you can say it. On Shabbos and Yom Tov, you don't say it. It says Ramah Haga, afilu b'makom shenagel amar b'maisachol. Even in a place where the minhag is to say it during the week, Shemaloi hayu achidim meis hakneses kasha amru Barchu. Maybe a few guys missed the Barchu. Mikol makom Shabbos v'Yom Tov ein la'amroi. On Shabbos and Yom Tov, you don't say it. Why? Dehakoil boin l'beis hakneses kaidem Barchu. Everyone comes to shul before Barchu. So what about the people who don't come to shul before Barchu? They're just not part of the everyone. But the Ramah says that during the week, it could be somebody might come after Barchu. On Shabbos, there are no such people. Says the Mishna Berura, afilu b'makom ratzolema diyesh mekom shenagim lemer kaddish Barchu acher gemara tefila shesbalu kolat tzibur. In some places, the minhag is to say kaddish and Barchu after the completion of the tefillah that the tzibur davened mibnei shelafa'amim yesh eze yechidim shabo acher Barchu, because sometimes there are individuals that come after Barchu v'lo shamu Barchu and they didn't hear Barchu. V'ayin le'elba Mishna Berura reish sim samachtes shebayarnu sham hakoil ledina. The Chazon Ish said for this reason that if you're going to say Barchu, you should say Mamish at the end of Davening, because you want it to be as late as possible, because you have the guy who rolls in as during the Shir Hamalos Mimamakim Korsicha Hashem. Because of course it's considered davening with the minyan as long as you get there while people are taking off their tefillah. No, just joking. It's only considered davening with the minyan if you start Shemona Esrei with the tzibur. Let's say you come an hour early, you say Pitamak Torah from a klaf that was written by somebody who went to the mikvah 30 times. After that you say Ma Toivu Adon Olam Yigdal. You say everything in the Siddur. The only thing is you didn't start Shemona Esrei with the tzibur. No, sorry. He's a nice guy. He's a good guy. He could paint your house. If you want to hire him to paint your house, he could paint your house. If you want to hire him to change your oil or your transmission, also you could buy life insurance from him. But he didn't daven with a minyan. He didn't daven with it. Anyway, I thought I might get that in. Anyway, therefore the Chazon Ish says that in Chodesh Elul, you should say Barchu after L'Davar Hashem Oiri. However, in the Luach Eretz Yisrael of Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, it says the minhag is to say L'Davar Hashem after Barchu. Now, in where they say Barchu after the final Kaddish, the Mishna Berura brought in the Hakdama to Siman Samach Tes that even if everyone heard Barchu in the beginning, you could still keep the minhag. Meaning, let's say there is no one who came late, so you could still say it. as to not to make a machlokes. But if you're not worried about machlokes, then the shots shouldn't just say Barchu, unless somebody didn't hear Barchu. Okay, so very important. Don't just be the guy who says Barchu. You need to make an assessment that somebody needs to hear it. The fact that this is your contribution to Jewish life, okay, that could be a very nice contribution, but you have to make sure that somebody else needs it. If nobody else needs it. Now, if you have a guy who's going to start a machlokes, then you could do it. If you're not worried about machlokes, you have to make sure someone needs it. So therefore, by shachris, it's very questionable whether you could really do it unless you know that somebody missed Barchu. By Marav, though, it's pretty common or usual or typical that there's going to be somebody who walks in after Barchu. Okay. Now, so we asked the question, really, on Shabbos and Yom Tov nobody comes before Barchu? I mean, in what city is he referring to that nobody came after Barchu on Shabbos and Yom Tov? No, the Mishnah Berura says, even if a guy came after Barchu, he heard Barchu from someone who got an aliyah. So, therefore, by the way, on Monday and Thursday, you need to be very careful before you say Barchu after davening, because in all likelihood, everyone who came has already been there, at least has been there for a Kriyas HaTorah. Okay, fine. Therefore, Richel Michal Tikkachinsky says that, in Eretz Yisrael on Monday and Thursday, or on a day that has Kriyas HaTorah, do not say Barchu after the davening. That's minhag Eretz Yisrael. You do not say Barchu after the davening. What if somebody says Barchu after the davening? You tell him not to. You say, Rabbi Yid, you did the wrong thing. No, you don't have to shoot him, but you should tell him. Right? It's the wrong thing to do. Now, what about in America? I don't know. You can't say it's not the minhag. It's still not the right thing to do on Monday or Thursday. Now, by the way, it's interesting that the Mechaber said that on Shabbos and Yom Tov you don't say Barchu after Kadesh Basra. Why didn't the Mechaber say on Monday and Thursday? It seems like, at least for Sfardim, which they do, I think they do say it even on Mondays and Thursdays, even though you could ask, what do you mean? They probably heard Kriyas HaTorah, but maybe not. Maybe somebody came late after Kriyas HaTorah. But Shabbos, you have to come pretty late, because besides there's a long Shachris and the drasha. You know how long that drasha was? Oh, sorry, no, I'm not gonna impugn the drasha. Okay, Siman Kuf Lamed Daled. Yeah, Seder v'Huracham v'Hagba HaTorah. The order of Huracham and Hagba. The order of Huracham and Hagba. Haga, Noyagim, Laharbois b'Tachanunim b'Sheni v'Chamishi. The minhag is to be marbe in Tachanunim on Monday and Thursday. That's how the Ramah starts. By the way, why are we Noyeg Laharbois b'Tachanunim on Monday and Thursday? I think some people say, well, Monday and Thursday, you may hadin. It's the days of din, so we have to say Tachna. No. Moshe Rabbeinu, I believe, he went up to Shamayim he always went up and came down on a Monday and Thursday. Mondays and Thursdays are Yemei Rachamim. Therefore, we're marbe b'tachanunim. Okay, says Mishnah Berura, Yesh Mekom Shenagin Lamer Koidem B'Huracham Yud Gimel Midos Sharachamim Uvidoy. In some places, the minhag is before V'Huracham to say Yud Gimel Midos and Vidoy. What if you're davening in a shul that they say Yud Gimel Midos and Vidoy, and your minhag is not to? Rav Moshe says you should change your minhag and do what the tzibur does. You have to follow the tzibur. What if you usually say Yud Gimel Midos Rachamim, and you're davening in a shul that they don't say it? Rav Moshe says the way you say Tachnun has to be in a way where people don't know you're doing it differently than the tzibur. Therefore, if you're davening in a Nusach Sfard shul, it is asur to do that for Tachnun. It's asur. Likewise, vice versa, if you're davening So if you daven Sfar, you're davening in an Ashkenaz shul, you cannot start clapping. You cannot start doing Yud Gimel Midas Harachmim. You cannot do something that it's nicker that you're doing differently than Tzibur. Likewise, if you daven Nusach Ashkenaz, you're davening in a Sfard shul, and they're doing Yud Gimel Midas Harachmim, you can't be belting out V'hurachim. You have to do it in a way where it's not nicker that you're changing from the minhag of the Tzibur. Also on a regular Tachnun day, if you daven Nusach Sfar, you're davening in Ashkenaz shul, you cannot clap. Likewise, Rabbi Tzion Abba Shaul says, yeah, you want to do vido, it has to be yeshiva without haka. Reb Chaim Kanievsky agrees. Weiter. The Mechaber continues. V'hurachim. You say v'hurachim, v'omer ma'aseh b'kol you say it out loud. V'imloi amarei ma'umad, if you don't say it standing, over al hatakana, you're violating a legislation. V'nikra purest gadar, you're considered breaching a fence. Don't think it's a small thing. Oh, I'm tired, I'm just going to sit down now. No, it's a serious infraction. If you sit when you need to stand, it's a serious infraction. You're called a purest gadar, especially for the long tachnon. Says the Mishna, the way it was enacted was through a great miracle. Kamuva b'cholbai, like it's brought in the kolbai. V'nidfas b'sidurim, it's published in the sidurim, where how the v'hurachim was legislated. V'tzarech la'amroi b'kavana, you need to say with intent. Uvamitun, and patiently. V'loi b'merutza, and not quickly. The Mechaber says if you don't stand for v'hurachim, you're called a purest gadar. Says the Mishna, yesh shaymim d'lo mikri purest gadar. Some say no, you're not called a purest gadar. Elam lo yamar klal. That's only if you didn't say it at all. Avim amarish shaloi ba'amida. But if you say it sitting, no, you're not going to be called a purest gadar. What if you evaluate that if you say the whole v'hurachim, you're not going to be able to say tachnon? Says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, it's better to say tachnon and skip v'hurachim, and you'll make it up after kriyas haTorah. So in other words, if you're saying the v'hurachim and they start putting their head down, put your head down. You'll make up the rest of v'hurachim later. And that could be a very relevant in halacha, because there are some shuls that maybe they're not saying it b'masun v'shalai b'merutza. It could be, you'll find some places, they don't say the words very slowly. La'amroi me'umad, to say it standing. Oh, says Rama, v'chein noegin la'amroi me'umad. That is the minhag to say the v'hurachim standing. Says the Mishna, v'chein keil erech apayim. Also, the short tefillah, Kel Erech HaPayim, Sha'oimrim Acher Chatzi Kaddish, that is said after the Chatzi Kaddish. Tzarech Loimer Gam Kein Mu'unmad. You also have to say it standing. Mibnei Sheyesh B'y Chatanu, because we say we've sinned. Uvidoi V'tzarech Loimer Mu'umad. Now I want to share with you something amazing I just saw on Shabbos from the Chida. You ever notice that short tefillah, Kel Erech HaPayim, that you say before Vayehi ben Say Ha'arayin, that has nothing to do with Tachnun? It's not connected to Tachnun. It is a vidui that you say before you open up the Arayin. The final words are Keroiv Rachamecha Kel. Says the Chida. This tefillah is calling upon the Malach Michael to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu the ashes of Akedas Yitzchak. Keroiv are oisiyos keruv, referring to Michael. Rach Reish Ches Gematria Yitzchak. The remaining letters are oisiyos Michael. The Chida writes in the Sefer Tzipoiren Shamir that this is the kavana you should have when you say Kel Erech Apayim. It is trying to encourage Michael to show the Rebbeinu Shalom a farai shal Yitzchak Avinu, Keruv oisiyos. Keroiv is Keruv, the cherub. Rach Reish Ches 208 is Yitzchak, and the final remaining letters spell out Michael. Okay. hold it over here.
Recording stopped.